The following podcast is part of the MindBodySpirit.fm podcast network.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
With the power and endurance of Toyota trucks, you can go to the most incredible places. Like this valley, where the echo does different voices.
Hello!
Hello! Hello!
We know what we're made of. Toyota trucks.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, host of the Live Like Eden podcast. What do you do when your whole life flips upside down? Are you questioning everything, lost in chaos, or yearning for life's deeper meaning? I've been there, deep in the thick of it, unraveling my own awakening mess for over 20 years. Now I'm here to help you through yours. I share no-nonsense weekly wake-ups, cutting through the ego's illusions to wake you up to your own spiritual wisdom. No mountaintop bliss needed here, just practical tools, insights, and real-life experience to save you time. Plus, a much-needed laugh when we're all losing it. Let's dive into this fresh new episode. Today, I have the lovely Harmony Slater joining me to talk about ancient breathwork, Kundalini, and how to balance the nervous system. Harmony is a certified mastery coach, breathwork and pranayama trainer, and one of only 21 women worldwide to hold the highest level Ashtanga Yoga certification. Any of you that practice yoga know Ashtanga Yoga is very difficult. It is not easy. You'll have to check her Instagram feed to see what she does on there, but it's pretty amazing. For over 25 years, she's guided students across 33 countries in yoga, meditation, energy practices, and she weaves together neuroscience, spirituality, and somatic healing. She hosts the Finding Harmony podcast and is the founder of the Lightworker Mastermind. Harmony empowers high-achieving women and spiritual entrepreneurs to regulate their nervous systems, release energy blocks, and grow their businesses with clarity, vitality, and flow. She offers us simple breathing techniques towards the very end of the show to help you regulate as you're navigating this nutty existence. If you love listening to Harmony, and I hope you enjoy this chat today, you can reach out to her at her website, harmonyslater.com, and you can also find her on Instagram. I will link everything for you in the show notes. I hope you enjoy the show, and I will be back with you next week. All right. Welcome back to another episode, everybody. I am here joined with Harmony Slater. I am so excited you're joining me today, Harmony.
Hi, Lindsay. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited because we're going to dive into topics that I don't always talk about, but I do a lot of.
Yeah.
You are a yoga instructor. You're a certified, master coach. You are a breathwork and pranayama trainer. You have a lot of titles.
Yeah, I've been at it for a while. They start to accumulate after 25 years.
Well, and I can kind of see the progression of, where you're going. And now you work, help women entrepreneurs with build soul aligned businesses. So we're going to get into all of that. But I do want to start as we are going to focus today on ancient breath work and how that can help people in their everyday lives with their stress levels. We're going to dive into Kundalini, a really interesting topic. And then we'll talk about what you do every day.
Sure.
And how I like to start this show, Harmony, is just to give you the space to share your personal story of how you arrived at where you are today. How'd you get to become an Ashtanga yoga teacher? By the way, let me just make this statement. She's one of 20 women globally, right, to have the highest Ashtanga certification you can get. Now, anybody listening that doesn't know much about yoga, Ashtanga yoga is no joke. It is difficult, right? And I watched you, Harmony, on some of your Instagram. I'm like, man, it's amazing. So at the end of the show, you guys got to get on Harmony's page and watch her.
Yeah, you might have to scroll back a bit, but
I did see them though. So go ahead and share. I'd love to hear how you got to teach and how'd you get to do what you're doing today?
Yeah, for sure. I'm so happy to share my story. Like I said, it started a long time ago, when I was quite young. I came to yoga. I was a ballet dancer. So Ashtanga Yoga is sort of like the ballet of the dance world. It's very strict and disciplined and rigid. And the only place to get officially authorized or certified to teach is in Mysore, India. So obviously, I come to everything I do with this sort of, intensity, triple AAA excellence, striving personality across the board. And was in universities studying philosophy and religious studies, particularly Buddhism, I loved. And that took me to China, where I was doing an honors degree in Buddhist meditation. And so studying at some monasteries there. And that really led me into wanting to practice yoga more like authentically. And so I had been practicing a little bit and, knew what it was and had explored. And this was like in the early 2000s. So, yoga wasn't what it was then as it is today. But I really wanted to go to the source and meet the guru of Ashtanga Yoga. So I traveled to Mysore, India, and dove into practicing with Sri K. Pattabhi Jois, who was there living and alive teaching yoga. And I kept going back. I actually moved to Thailand and taught and managed a retreat center there. I moved to Goa, India, and taught and managed a retreat center there. And then I went to Victoria, British Columbia, and opened up my own yoga studio after about 5 years of living in Southeast Asia. And all the while, I would go back to Mysore, India, and practice and study, learning. I had done some Sanskrit in my degree in university, but really learning Sanskrit there and Vedic chanting, as well as pranayama. And then, of course, the Ashtanga Yoga piece, with the very intense asanas and the very disciplined schedule. And of course, I love the philosophy, and that's what my degrees was in university. So really going into the yogic philosophy as well. And after giving birth to my son and owning my yoga studio for 7 years, I sold it and moved back to my home city, which is in Calgary, Canada, and started traveling and teaching mainly. So now I still do that. I still travel and teach workshops and retreats in different countries all over the world. And also then started my online offerings, which is mostly coaching. And I have a beautiful breathwork course called Ancient Breathing 2.0, where I have distilled all of the pranayama techniques, which in pranayama is just a Sanskrit word for what we would call breath work now. But prana is energy, it's life force, it's breath, and ayama means to extend or expand. Yama, without the A, means to control or to regulate. And so it has this double meaning, this word. It's the control of the breath to expand the life force. And so there's some beliefs in India that we are only as healthy as we are, as our respiratory system and our digestive systems are, and that we're given a certain number of breaths the day we're born. And when we run out of those breaths, we die. And so by lengthening and extending your breath, you can live longer, right? Yeah. So animals like elephants live a long time. Animals like dogs live a short time. And so sort of like looking at nature and then applying this philosophy to humans. I don't know if it's true, just putting it out there.
That's the theory, right?
That's the theory.
Well, it's kind of interesting too, because we live in this culture where, when we're talking about health and living or having a vital life or longer life, nobody really dives into the depths of breath work like pranayama does, Yeah. It's like we're talking about food and water and exercise, and sleep now is the thing.
Yeah. But sleep's important.
It's important. But our number one source of living is breathing, right?
Yeah. And it's also like the number one way to regulate your nervous system as well, because breath is tied to your autonomic nervous system. Your autonomic nervous system is what is doing your digestion and keeping your heart beating and keeping you breathing. Right. It's all the autonomic automatic things that are going on and autonomic,
Yeah.
that we don't have to think about. But it's much harder to like control your digestion or to control your heart rate. It's very easy to control your breath. And so it connects us to this unconscious part of our system and brings it into our conscious awareness. So it's useful in all kinds of different dimensions when you start to really look at it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all if only we would learn this when we're very small. And I know there's people today that do this with their kids, but on the whole, as a culture, it's not happening. I mean, most people don't even, when they're running around, don't even think about breathing, right? We don't think about it until you're panicking and having a panic attack. And then it's like, yeah, maybe I should learn some breath work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had really severe childhood asthma. And so I feel like thinking about breathing and my breath was always something I was very aware of because of that. And so in a weird way, the disorder or that dysregulated system was almost a gift for me because it made me hyper aware of how I was breathing. Not all the time, obviously, but when I was getting anxious or like with activity or just different things, I was always kind of tuned in to like, what's my breath like right now? Not in a way of like, I know what to do to help myself, but in like, oh shit, maybe I should take some Ventolin or something.
Right. So would you say that was a catalyst for you even learning about, you said you first went to China to study Buddhism, right? So there's a lot of meditating going on.
Yes, a lot of meditating.
Did it just happen to be that way? You just kind of synchronistically, you put two and two together later?
I think I learned the benefits of meditation a lot sooner and then I kind of went into the body because I was very much in my mind studying philosophy and religious studies. And I loved looking at the mind. I studied the philosophy of the mind and existentialism and problems of the mind. And, I was really interested in human experience. So then you're going to be interested in the mind, right?
100%.
Yeah. So Buddhism really like connected me to that and the practice of meditation and doing, silent retreats and Vipassana meditation and going deep into that route as well. But then through the practice of yoga, especially Ashtanga Yoga, is really about yoking your breath and your body together. And so you start to become aware of your breathing because you're trying to move with the breath in what, we call the vinyasa. And so that really started to tune me into the breathing and the breath work. And then I met a guru who lives in India. He's still alive today. I think he's maybe 98 today.
And who is this? Which guru?
His name's Sri O.P. Tiwari, and he was the head of the Kavalyadam Institute in Lonavala, India. They also have a branch in Mumbai. And this is an institute that was started by Swami Kavayananda, who was my guru's teacher. And it was one of the first research institutes in India studying yoga from a scientific perspective. And so it has a long history of trying to bring yoga into sort of this modern age and looking at doing scientific studies on people around yogic practices long before the West was ever interested in yoga or doing any science about breathing or meditating or yoga postures. And so it was like this whole institute is quite ahead of its time, the Kavalyadam Institute. And so my teacher, the way that they really go into the practices of yoga is through the pranayama. And pranayama is sort of their main technique or tool or discipline that they use, because without the pranayama, you're not really able to contain. I mean, and it's used both for curative practices. So there's ways you can breathe to help alleviate physical ailments, mental ailments, to help bring about balance and health and healing in the body. But there's also spiritual pranayamas, and those are used to activate that Kundalini energy and to, connect you to your highest self or to awaken to self-realization. And so they're really looking at what is happening? They knew it worked,
Right.
but what is actually happening when this happens?
Well, and it's interesting too, because today everybody loves to coin the new phrase and it's this new thing, and I'm always like, but like thousands of years ago, they were talking about this in detail. You could read all about Kundalini, right? You could read about it. And it's like, they say, well, they didn't have the technology. I'm like, well, maybe they did. Maybe they had something that we just don't know about,
Oh yeah. I mean, if you read yogic text, it's not a weird thing. This is where this whole idea of awakening, self-realization, Kundalini, it's all there. It's very clear.
I know. And I'm always like, I don't think we're at any different point. I mean, the human being to me has always been able to do that. Since we've been human, I believe this has been a thing. And somewhere along the line, it's like somebody just shut the door on that, and then let's not let the masses know about this, Yeah. I mean, I don't know, but it just seems odd that suddenly there's no information on it,
I think it's very interesting. I think in the maybe the late 1800s, like during the scientific revolution, we really went into a very materialistic space, I think.
Yeah.
Of, thinking if we can't see it, the empiricism, if we can't prove it, we can't see it, it doesn't exist. And really going deeply into science, which kind of shut down a lot of our extrasensory perceptions and also kind of closed us off to this idea that we are actually a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we kind of went the opposite direction where we're like, oh, we're human beings. And now we're trying to have a spiritual experience.
Yeah. Right. Flip the
but
switch.
Actually,
maybe we got it all wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we forget, we've forgotten who we truly are. And so the whole process of Kundalini is really reconnecting and waking up with the truth of who you are.
Yeah.
Or what you are.
Yeah. Maybe you can share with the listeners, what is Kundalini energy? Give the whole because there's Kundalini yoga and then the whole theory of, maybe you could split it up into those two parts so the listener knows. Yeah.
Definitely. So Kundalini yoga was created by Yogi Bhajan, who is a controversial guru figure of the 20th century. A very good businessman, created yogi tea, which we all love. Best thing he ever did.
The tea.
Yeah, the tea. But they use a lot of different breathing and movement techniques that they call Kriya. It's a lot of kind of somatic activation. And, it has its own effects and benefits and drawbacks as well. Mm-hmm. That's very different than Kundalini energy. And there's also a type of energy work called Kundalini activation, which is like a totally separate thing as well. Using sound, vibration, intention, the movement of energy to help in their sort of viewpoint or perspective to help somebody connect into their own Kundalini energy or awaken it. Also to one side, if we just look at the Kundalini energy, it's really a psycho-spiritual energy, a psycho-spiritual force that exists within all of us. And the yogic texts use a lot of metaphor. And so Kundalini is a feminine word. So it's a goddess energy. And it's said to be dormant and resting at the base of the spine, curled up 3.5 coils. And the whole process of self-realization or having a samadhi experience, that, as we would say in yoga, right? You're going through these 8 limbs. That's what the Ashtanga Yoga means. It means the 8-limb practice. And so this final 8th limb is samadhi. So samadhi, self-realization, Kundalini awakening, waking up, enlightenment is all different words for this same process that happens quite naturally with a little bit of intention and determination and sometimes spontaneously for other people.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it kind of depends. Spontaneous awakening, I think, was not so common in like ancient times, I feel like it seems like we're kind of collectively moving more into a space where we're maybe sensitive to these things, and our consciousness is already kind of understanding interconnection on a different level just because of the internet and all the things. So there's something interesting happening in our collective consciousness right now. But back to the ancient texts.
We'll go back to that.
Yeah, let's go back there for a bit. So the idea is that we have a lot of I'm going to say blocks or pollutants or inhibitions, things that are emotional, mental, physical, actual, like mucus that is in our bodies, things that we're not like clean in a way or pure or
a little bit toxic.
Yeah, we have a little bit of toxicity to us, like on all these planes of being human, right? Mental, emotional, and physical.
On all levels.
All levels, yeah. And so when we start to clear them out, and so practices like hatha yoga, any kind of yogic practice, fasting, extreme sort of chanting, meditating, praying, any kind of spiritual practice starts to eliminate some of these obstacles. And so, we might have all had experiences where, you're in a yoga class and then all of a sudden you start crying, or you're meditating for a long period of time and then some like memories start to come up that you've forgotten, or maybe emotion comes up. Often it moves in emotion as well, or shaking or tremoring. That can also be a release. And so it's sort of interesting because I think in today's language, we often talk about, trauma and releasing trauma. And, we have this obsession with
trauma,
like trauma.
Isn't it? I mean, it's all over. I'm like, is everything really, it's like, it's the new coined word. Like I was just talking about earlier.
Which I think is just being alive at this point.
That's so funny you say that, Harmony, because I've always thought, isn't just being here a trauma? Like, do we have to have a specific one?
Yeah, right.
Just doing this life is not easy. Yeah,
exactly. And so I think a lot of the ways these blocks like move and shift and get released, or I'm calling them blocks, but they're not necessarily blocks, but literally in the text, they say that we have this central channel, which is a type of nadi, and a nadi means a little river. And it's it's imperceptible because it helps to move the energy along the spine or through the spine. And when this central channel, when the literal mucus that's blocking it is flushed out and cleansed out, then the channel can open. And when the channel is open, which means that both sides, also the Ida and the Pingala, and this is where it becomes quite interesting, the sun and the moon channel, which is the right and the left. And this is symbology that is like clear throughout culture, across cultures, right? You have the caduceus with the two snakes going.
And they try to make that evil. Some people want to say
yeah, but it's a symbol for health, actually, and medicine.
Yeah.
And so when that central channel is open and the two sides are also equally open, then the energy, which is inherent and natural and innate to every single human being, can start to move into that central channel and move upwards. And as it moves upwards, it's going to hit sort of points along its journey. One of those points, well, the first one's at the very bottom, the one that the mucus that needs to get cleared out, right? That's called the Brahma Granthi. And so it's the knot. It's like a physical psychosomatic knot that needs to unravel or be released before the energy will even start that journey.
Yeah.
Then there's another block around the navel area or up near the solar plexus. That is the Vishnu Granthi. And then there's another one in the throat area. That's the Rudra Granthi. And so at each level, there's sort of a different psychosomatic block that needs to kind of move or release or kind of be transmuted for the energy to move all the way up, they'd say, to the crown, where then both hemispheres of the brain are speaking to each other in a balanced way, and we're accessing all of the energy that is available to our dynamic biology and physiology.
So I had this is a personal experience. So I just want to share this with you. I taught Bikram yoga for years and practiced early 2000s a lot. And I was teaching one day, I wasn't practicing, but as I was teaching and I'm just walking, I suddenly had this very sudden movement in my spine. It started with this shift kind of in the solar plexus, big weird thing happened. And this literal felt like a freight train coming up my back as I'm teaching. And I had no knowledge of Kundalini whatsoever at the time. So I'm just teaching it's like I was teaching and words are coming out of my mouth, but I'm having this experience and it's coming up my back. It's moving up the back of my neck, pushing up the base of my skull, and it's coming. I feel like it's overwhelming me big time, and I'm heating up like a volcanic eruption. The trembling is starting, and I'm thinking, and no one can see this is happening. It's like it's internal. But then I get to a point where I have to stop. I had somebody take over the class, but I remember leaving that room and just looking up at the ceiling when I lay down outside of it. And I thought, what was that? It was so powerful. But Harmony, that sent me on like a 15-year, a total unraveling of everything I thought I was. And the energy and the physical body was so overwhelming. I could not find anybody except one man in Boulder that temporarily helped me with disruptive Kundalini. But it was like this energy just went wild. And there was an electricity that I suddenly became so sensitive to everything. And I wasn't a sensitive person, like to places or energy, never, And all of a sudden it was like I was an electrical, and I could feel everything coming in all the time. And then eventually it blew out through my head. I felt this boom, and that's a whole other thing I won't get into. But I just wanted to ask you, what is your experience personally, or have you known people who've had just these spontaneous, like maybe my yoga practice was prepping me for that, and I just didn't know it. And I wasn't aware of it. But
yeah. Did you have intense headaches?
There was pressure in the head. It felt like for a time, there was a lot of physical sensations in the beginning. And it felt like I had a belt around my head, just tingling in the head. I felt like somebody was doing surgery in my brain. And it was just the wildest time of my life. I couldn't do anything for a long time, but I was just curious your experience with that and what your take on all that is.
Yeah, I think we use the yoga practices like the asanas, to like create health, or, to have a nice sort of feeling after we practice. But really, in my opinion, they're there to create a strong container to hold this energy.
Yeah.
And so, as you say, like sometimes, in yoga philosophy, they believe in reincarnation and past lives. And so like my guru always has this beautiful story of this little boy who would just look at a picture of Krishna and he'd go into trance state.
Oh, mm-hmm.
So he'd like immediately go into trance state, like just awaken, and wouldn't come back for like several hours.
Yeah.
And so like we have different, karmas or different, past gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this belief that anything we do in this life is going to kind of influence or affect future lives. So yeah, someone like yourself, you could have had a past life where maybe you did a lot of intense practice, was born into this body, and then you did a little bit of practice.
Yeah, right.
But you were primed to have this energy come up. And like I said, collectively in our consciousness, I don't know, maybe we're just at a time where, the earth is like, we need more awake people. Otherwise, we're not going to survive, guys.
Yeah. And you signed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. But I feel like the yoga asanas are really here to create a strong container to hold the energy so that, we can exist and be in the world and not be overwhelmed. And sometimes when it happens very quickly without preparation, also like sometimes one side opens and the other side doesn't open. You need to like redirect the energy into both sides so that it goes through the middle. Gopi Krishna is probably the most famous.
I read his book. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like reading that going, oh, he's never getting rid of this.
Yeah. And so it's like about creating the container to hold and sustain the energy in a way that, feels good rather than is either, you're not sleeping and you're overactivated, or you're sleeping all the time and completely lacking any kind of sense of wanting to move. Like both of those extremes, could happen. Yeah.
Did you know your hair ages just like your skin does? The new Chronologies line offers luxurious youth revitalizing care for aging hair. It reverses the 5 key signs of hair aging: lack of thickness and volume, dullness, dryness, and frizz in just one night. Use the full range of Chronologies shampoo, mask, and overnight serum and wake up to visibly fuller, smoother, healthier hair. Shop the new Chronologies line at Kerastase.com.
At Planet Fitness, we've got everything you need to get stronger with best-in-class equipment and free fitness training, so you can give everything you've got. Join today starting at just $15 a month. Planet Fitness, we're all strong on this planet. See Club for details.
Arizona awakens your senses. Here, a grand wonder of the world is just one shade of your adventure. Dazzling sunsets and iconic stays turn to brilliant nights under a kaleidoscope of stars. Explore endless peaks, rivers, and canyons painted in every hue. Center your spirit. Find your inspiration. Surround yourself in vivid color. Only in vibrant Arizona.
There was a lot of stuff. I was just curious, how much do you see people like that in your own practice, or have you had a personal feeling of Kundalini in your own experience?
Yeah, I think for me, my experience was much more gradual in that because I practiced so intensely for so long, there was a lot of like little interesting kind of experiences along the way that was like the peeling of an onion, like one layer, the other layer, and like also a deep sort of introspection because I was aware of this process. Like my whole journey, it's always been towards like spiritual realization and Kundalini awakening, which interestingly enough can be almost a block because then you're like creating a goal and then you're going after it. And the more you want it, the less you're going to get it.
It can be a trap, a huge trap, right?
A total trap. Yeah. It's a total trap. And so it wasn't actually until I completely was just like, I don't care anymore. I don't want that the energy
here we go
comes up. But I definitely felt like for me, there was a whole hollowing out of the center, a complete movement of energy. I could feel it like completely, moving, but it wasn't destabilizing for me. Yeah. And I think it was because it was more gradual before that sort of energy woke up.
Well, and your maybe prior knowledge of it helped you too. I mean, you kind of knew what was happening. I was like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, I had I had a framework to understand. And I also had been, doing for many years, like a very stable practice, not just asana, but I would say even more the pranayama, because the pranayama is more about using the breath and the energy and being able to hold your breath for long periods of time without anxiety, building up a strong sort of shell or like bowl to hold this force. And a lot of times it's explained like this, we have, if you look at your body like wiring, right? Or like an appliance or something, and you plug it into I don't even know what voltage is, but like a 30-watt voltage, here in North America, your hairdryer works just fine. But if you take it to India where the voltage is like 120, it blows it out, right? It short circuits it. And so I think if you think of it like that there's an energy inside of us that is so intense and so powerful.
Oh, it's so powerful.
Yeah, that if your nervous system isn't prepared, it kind of short circuits you for a bit and blows you out.
Those are the perfect words. I've used all those words, the short circuiting, the electric, I use the explanation of like your computer has too much, it's got too much in it and you're trying to download more information. You don't have enough storage and the nervous system is freaking out. Yeah. I mean, I would say, and tell me what you think of this, that it seems as if the energy itself is actually so intelligent, right? It is rewiring and reworking everything, and the mind is the one that's trying to seek and solve a problem that it's never going to solve. So for me personally, it was about letting go of anything I thought about it and just allowing whatever it was doing to get out of the way and allow it to happen, Yeah,
100%. It requires full surrender.
Yeah.
And it's beyond the mind. You can't control it.
No.
It's not controllable. So
it's hard to tell people that. Yeah.
Yeah. You have no choice but to just surrender and just like be in that energy. It's kind of, it's beautiful and terrifying depending on what end of the spectrum you're looking at it from.
Well, it has the both. It's this terrifying moment until there's a surrender, at least for me, but I'm sure it can be different for each person, Yeah.
And it's interesting. I think in India, they have like a framework, because this concept does come from India. It exists in all cultures though, for sure. And any spiritual experience and any human can and potentially can have this experience, because it's not something that you need to like get or do or buy or accumulate. It exists inside of you. And so it's more about getting rid of stuff.
Exactly.
In order to have that experience happen.
It's an undoing. Yeah.
Yeah. But they have all these gods and goddesses and like deities in India, and one of their most maybe frightening deity is Kali, who's like this goddess who rips off people's heads, and she has blood dripping down her mouth and like her tongue sticking out really long. Yeah. And she's holding like the head of a dead person in her hand.
Really gruesome.
But it's like, so to look at her is like very frightening.
Yeah.
But it's said that she's like the fierce mother to her devotees. Like she's this goddess mother who like nurtures her devotees in the most loving way. And I always feel like when we talk about these energies, it's a little bit like that. Like if you're playing around with it, you might end up not happy with yourself.
I know when people are trying to do it, I'm always like, you may not want to do that. Let it happen naturally. I don't know.
It's sort of, and it's sort of like what I was saying, like the more you're trying to make it happen, it's like you want it because you think you need it to be better than you are. You want it because you think it's going to get you something that you don't already have.
Right.
And so we're putting it outside of us and trying to like using the same framework that we use for everything in our lives to a spiritual experience, right? But the actuality of the experience is realizing that you don't need to change anything.
No.
There's nothing outside of you that can make you better than you already are. That's the nature and the essence of the experience is it's all already perfect.
It's like this joke that it kind of makes you laugh because here you go, we all go searching around. We're on this endless scavenger hunt, looking for ourselves or looking for this self-realization moment. And it's literally been with us. And I really loved what you said earlier is because you made a statement that it's in all cultures and not all cultures are practicing yoga. It doesn't have to be through yoga. I always got into the shamanic initiation, which I found very fascinating. It's very similar, but even more so like this. It's like a dying, right? If you think about it, it's the death of who you think you are and the acknowledgement and realization of what's already there. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally. And I think like, there's like the psychedelic revolution happening right now. And
it's everywhere.
And I think a lot of, plant medicines, because it is a primal energy. It is the energy of the earth and we are of the earth. And so I think that this psychedelic revolution is also kind of, aiding this uprising and this awakening of our collective consciousness as well, because it does tap into that primal energy in us, to that innate life force that is in us.
Yeah.
Right. When we take something like a psychedelic, that's not doing something to us. It's waking up what's already inside of us. Right. And so there's this interesting kind of dance that's happening right now around the earth, kind of like, needing or wanting or calling forth, I think, more conscious beings in service to this energy. Because as you say, it's really recognizing that like you're just a piece of the puzzle. Like you're nothing special, right? You're just.
People don't like to hear that, though. That's like threatening, very threatening to a lot of people. What do you mean? I'm like, oh, well, we're not going to talk about it.
But it can also be very destabilizing. I think a lot of people have that very destabilizing experience sometimes when they're, again, playing around with psychedelics or plant medicine, and then they're like, completely out of their minds without proper integration or practices or grounding to hold the insight or the energy that they woke up.
Right. It's it makes me laugh a little bit. I'm like, why would you want to? I don't know, because you don't have control over that sometimes, right?
You don't have control.
Your trip's going to last. Although I felt like I was on a trip without drugs for years,
Yeah.
I thought, it's in you. I've had conversations with people who are very into plant medicine or any kind of drug, and they're using it for that purpose. And I may say something, and I honestly don't have an opinion. I just kind of think whatever you choose for yourself, just, be careful. But they kind of want to make it sound like that, like you said, the plant is doing it. And I'm like, but it's in you. It's kind of like, you're tapping in it. Maybe there's something the plant's doing to release the part that you don't have a hard time letting go of, right? The mind and the blocks. Maybe that's it's kind of like whether you're doing recreational drugs or drinking, it's the same thing. You just feel like you're limitless and then you have access. But the mind, you can do that without it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can do it without it too. And I think that's the work that we have to realize, is that when it's the substance itself isn't like doing it to us. Actually, it's just stopping all of the things. It's actually like stopping our patterns that we naturally believe or go to that prevent us from having this like full brain connection. I mean, if you want to talk about it in science, right?
Right.
It's like neurons are connecting with each other. Your brain is making like all these like wild connections with different things that, it doesn't normally do.
Right. Well, what do they say? We use like 10% of the brain or something?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but
well, what's going on in the other 90%?
I think mostly we're like only conscious of, 10% of what's going on. And then also, like, we get stuck in ruts, we keep thinking the same thoughts. We keep doing the same habits. We're living like, I think 90% of our life, our day is unconscious. We're just going through the same conversations, driving the same way to work, like not even thinking about how we're driving, just autopilot. So much of what we do is just completely operating out of habit.
Yeah. Autopilot.
Yeah. And so it's really like just breaking the habit of the mind, right? Or as Joe Dispenza says, like breaking the habit of being yourself or something.
Yeah, I think he says that.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of true. Stop being yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. And realize actually that it's just a fake personality. There is no you. I'm sorry.
Well, I know. And it's funny. I had moments, or I still have moments, where you kind of see this vast awareness field you're in, and you're watching the personality. And I feel like the personality is just a mechanism that just does its thing. But when you break off from it, like there's that awareness that sees it, but it's still doing its thing. It becomes this very strange existence because you're like, well, I'm not that, but I'm seeing it. And now I see the actress, on the stage, like Shakespeare, all the world's a stage, It's an interesting thing. And I think like you said, more and more people are starting to experience that.
Yeah, it's fascinating because like more people than ever before on the face of the planet have access to all of these spiritual tools like yoga and meditation and mantra and, mindset and like somatic techniques and emotional techniques. And, we're like it's all there. It's all there for us. And so like never before. So it makes sense when you think about it. If there's things that you can do and ways that you can be and things you can become aware of and certain practices or ways of breathing or techniques that give you a sense of deeper connection to yourself. And it's like available anywhere, anytime, all day long.
For free.
For free a lot of the time.
You don't need to pay for anything. Yeah.
I mean, right?
Yeah.
It's no wonder people are having more of these experiences.
Yeah. Well, you said something that now leads me to ask you this question about breath work. So what do you recommend for anybody who's freaking out, or they're just stressed out? Let's just say you're stressed out and you could take it to the level of a panic attack. What do you recommend is a breathing technique that people can do on the fly, like as they're in the experience of their life?
Yeah. So I think a good one, because also, just to like put a little piece on the Kundalini experience and awakening and self-realization, and to reflect back what you said of like seeing your personality, and like you're still you.
Yeah.
But like you also realize that that's like not really who you are, but like you live in 2 dimensions now. Like there's this reality, behavioral reality, where you still need to pay your bills and, drive your kids to school and, do all the things. And so you need an ego, you need a personality to function in this world.
You do. Yeah.
And so there's nothing wrong with having an ego and a personality.
Well, otherwise you're not here. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do anything?
I know.
Right. So, but also there's an awareness that this is like a limited experience of reality.
Right.
Right. So there's these 2 things going on. And also life keeps lifing. And so you are going to have stress and you are going to experience maybe anxiety or panic attacks at times, or you're going to, get angry or feel sad and grieve. And like, that's being human and having like this self-realization or, waking up to who and what you truly are doesn't take you out of the human experience. You still are actually a spiritual being here to have exactly that experience.
Yeah.
And so of course you're going to keep having that experience. And I think a lot of us go to spirituality and spiritual practices like yoga or meditation because we're sick of being in our human experience and we want to get out and have the spiritual experience, which we think is going to save us from our human experience. And then we're not going to have to feel any of these things anymore. Right?
Right. Well, and then the people out in the spiritual realm are going, I got to get back in the body.
Yeah. But the key is really to be in the body and to be in the experience of right now, exactly as it is.
Right. We tend to want to escape whatever we're in any way, shape, or form that happens, because that can happen in numerous ways. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, and then we have all these these habits and patterns, like we go for all the ways that we try to numb our feelings rather than just feeling the feelings and being with them.
Yeah. Or yelling at your kids. No.
Well, as long as you repair, it's fine. It happens to the best of us.
Well, I say that because I have 4 of them, and it's like every now and then it's just the wrath comes out, and then you're like, and you watch. The weirdest part is you're watching that. And then I'll go, oh, I just totally freaked out on you. That was not necessary. I'm so, but you can catch yourself when you're being human and doing things like that, reacting.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that we kind of lose ourselves in, is like we're going to do that. We're going to have those very human experiences. And it's really about how we come back to ourselves and how we repair relationships and how we be with other people in those experiences. And so, like, for example, my son was, I don't know, like he watches these bodybuilders. He's obsessed with bodybuilding. He's 15,
Yeah.
I made him breakfast this morning. I put the breakfast down. He's watching his video, and I'm just like kind of annoyed, like irritated. I'm just like, I'm trying to have a conversation with him. He's not listening. And
yeah,
and so we had an exchange. It wasn't like I wasn't yelling at him or anything, but I was just like, very like, and at the same time, yeah, you're like seeing like, oh, you're kind of annoyed and frustrated and irritated at him, and you're kind of like taking it out on him. And that probably doesn't, like, your energy isn't coming across as like loving and nurturing and like the mother you want to be.
Yeah. You're like, I made you this meal, and now you're sitting there not paying attention or being grateful, and you're watching bodybuilding.
Exactly.
I could hear your thoughts just going.
Yeah, just like, what? Okay, And so we're going to have these like experiences and reactions because we still have our personality, right? Especially when we're in human form. But it's like just noticing. Like, I think when you notice and you're aware and you're like, okay, I'm having all of these feelings and irritations and annoyances, and I could be taking it out on him a lot more harshly.
But you went to your breath work, right?
Yeah. But because you're aware of it, you can kind of just like be with the irritation and, still be like, okay, like this is mine, not his. I'm going to work with my own shit.
Well, you're right. It's our thing. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you in a way are able to kind of take radical responsibility for your experience in the world, rather than blaming other people and other things on it, because you realize this is all like being generated within yourself. And so it's like, well, what is this teaching me, or what am I learning, or just why is it here, or not even why it's here. It's just like, this is here. You don't even have to know why. I mean, maybe you didn't sleep great. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you have a billion things to do and you're just like, your mind's running in circles. And I think sometimes we, again, instead of just being like, oh, this is how I'm feeling anxious right now. Okay. I'm just going to be with feeling anxious. That's the feeling that's here. Let's just be with this feeling.
Right.
We try to get rid of it, and then it doesn't go away. And that makes us more anxious, right? Or we feel irritated and we think I shouldn't feel irritated. And then we're irritated that we're irritated, and that's building up the irritation,
And meanwhile, we're escalating into rage, and it's a whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we're like, what do I do with all this energy? Where's it go? And then you're yelling at your kids and you're like, they didn't even do anything.
Well, and you can see why people end up doing things they regret, because that builds up and they don't have the tools.
Exactly.
They're not aware. Yeah.
Yeah. So how to like channel that energy, or how to be with the emotions or the feelings or the sensations that are uncomfortable that are coming up. I think like the best thing you can do, and it's so simple, but nobody's going to do it.
Because it's too easy. Isn't that true? It's so true.
Yeah. But like the best thing you can do for your nervous system is have 5-10 minutes every morning where you do like one singular practice where you are learning to extend your exhale to be twice as long as your inhale. This could just be simple breathing where you're inhaling through your nose and like listening to the second hand of a ticking clock or a metronome app on your iPhone if you don't have an old school clock, right? Count how long it takes. Maybe it's 4 seconds, 5 seconds, maybe it's 10 seconds, and then make the exhale twice as long. If you do that for 5 minutes, you could just do simple breathing like that through both nostrils, I think a lot of people are familiar with alternate nostril breathing, where you inhale through the left side and then exhale for double through the right side. And then you inhale back through the right side and then exhale for double through the left side. So if you want to get fancy, you can do something like that. Yeah.
I'm going to get fancy. So if you're in the line that you're like really annoyed with, you can just start doing that.
Yeah. I mean, maybe if you're in the line, you just do the simple one. No one can tell.
Everyone will be like, what is she doing?
Yeah. But if you have like a morning practice right when you get up, where it's very simple, 1 or 2 types of breathing, where you're extending the exhale for twice the length, that's going to take, if your nervous system is, say, at a 7, and that's your baseline, right? You only have 3 points of stress before you're losing your shit.
You're saying 1 to 10, right? Scale of 1 to 10.
Yeah, 1 to 10.
10 being the worst, right?
10 being like you're yelling at your kids.
Yeah.
If 7 is like your baseline, and you do that every morning for 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to bring your baseline down to a 6.
Mm-hmm.
And then down to a 5, and then down to a 4 over time. Regularity and consistency is very important, because you start to establish a new baseline. So then you can handle more stress and stay regulated. Stay in a place where you're like, yeah, it's okay. I'm just going to go do this, right? You're in this calm space as you're navigating stressful situations.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing you can do as far as an easy, simple practice, but it requires creating that time in this for yourself to do it. And so that's why I said it's simple, but no one's going to do it because everyone's too busy already. So,
because everybody gets up and goes, oh no, I'm late.
That's right. You have to like get up 15 minutes early and like commit to it. But if you're really serious about it, it will work and it will transform your entire life. Guaranteed.
And we're talking 10, 15 minutes. Like,
it's not long. I mean, I'm sure all of us like watch at least an hour on some streaming platform every day.
Oh yeah.
Often 2 hours.
You can get up 15 minutes earlier,
Yeah. Yeah. Just go to bed a half hour earlier.
Some people will go, well, but I don't sleep well. I got to get everything in there. And it's just, you can just hear the excuses just roll.
I know.
Out.
That's what it's simple, but it's challenging. So we have blocks that come up around it. Like, no, I don't want to change, but I want to change, but I don't want to change. Change is hard.
It is.
Or not. Change is easy. Our resistance to change is what makes it hard.
Oh, it does. Well, it's that fear of what it will be like now. We're so familiar, even if it sucks, at least it's familiar,
Totally. 100%. So the emergency breath work that I always go to, and even for myself, like, cause days are busy and you maybe are running all day long from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. And then like you get in your car and you're about to drive your daughter to her ballet practice and you're just like, this is the first time I've slowed down all day long, right?
Yeah.
So for me, what I like to do, if I'm feeling that kind of like anxiety or that stress starting to come up, like you've drank 1 too many cups of coffee,
freaking out.
Yeah, you're not quite there, but you're like almost there. Or you're in the car and you're in traffic and you're late and like, you can feel the energy, that tension, that anxiety kind of rising, is if you breathe in, again, you can breathe in through your nose and breathe out through your mouth if you just purse your lips a little bit, like you're blowing out a candle very, very, very slowly, making the exhale as long as possible.
She's doing it for those of you that
yeah, maybe they can't hear.
Listening. I was just going to say that.
So if you do it and you do like 3, 5, 10 breaths like that, you will start to calm down right away. It's doing a couple of things. Anytime you start to lengthen your exhale, you're switching on, you're activating or stimulating your vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve that comes down through your brainstem, comes down through your jaw, touches your voice box, moves through all of your torso, the front and the back. It touches every organ and it terminates in your pelvic floor. And this is the nerve that's like putting on the brakes to your fight or flight response. And so the more you are able to turn it on through either lengthening the exhale or humming, gargling, even the cold, like everyone loves the cold plunge, right? Or the cold showers, that also activates and stimulates this vagus nerve.
Is that why people are doing that? Because I got to be honest, I am not getting into no cold anything like that's. I mean, I watch people. I'm like that. I can't not doing that. But tell me why people are doing that.
Yeah, it stimulates the vagus nerve, so it helps you to have this like takes you out of like this. I'm gonna say dysregulated, but like out of kind of being stuck in fight or flight.
Yeah,
and it'll help drop you into your parasympathetic nervous system like quite quickly. It also decreases inflammation in the body because inflammation is just heat building up in the body. So it can be really healing for your, muscles and joints and your whole body, your organs, everything, because your body starts to then flush some of those toxins that we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah.
Out of your system. So, I mean, there are some benefits to it. There's also been a lot of research done around women and doing cold plunging and how it's like maybe not the best to do all the time. But I think, and like with all of these things, often like interventions can be really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need to do it every day, maybe like something that's extreme like that,
Right. Like, I saw this documentary. These swimmers are up in the ice and they're swimming under the ice. And I'm like, they're practically dying. I mean, they bring the EMT out and I'm like, why?
Yeah.
Maybe just dip in for 20 seconds and get out if that's what you're looking for. But they're going for like a minute. I'm holding the breath, and I'm just like, wow.
I know, humans are amazing. I love it. I mean, I'm like, do it for me.
So if you're getting back on track, if you are let's say you're in fight or flight, somebody who's already in it, you still use the same breath work?
Yeah, I would inhale and
slow down,
exhale slowly through those pursed lips. That's going to like really drop you down. And when you purse your lips, you're putting a little back pressure also. And so it puts a little bit of pressure again on the carotid sinus and on the vagus nerve, which intensifies that stimulation. You can also count. So that's the other thing. As you're breathing, count how long your inhale is and try and make your exhale as long as possible and count how long the exhalation is. And there's been really interesting science done around counting. And it helps to, again, kind of disrupt the stress response.
Well, then you're kind of getting into it seems like hypnotherapy almost, where you're using counting. Now we're going into trance. Yeah.
Yeah. But all of these tools are so useful for helping us to just like, okay, I need to come back into my body. The quickest way is to just connect to the breath, to count, to allow yourself to feel embodied, feel your feet on the floor.
Right. Feel.
Just
again.
Feel your body.
Well, because fight or flight is taking you out of body, Yeah. And so if you learn to connect regularly with your breath, and you'll start feeling, yourself in the body again. Well, I love that you share all that because I do think it's so simple to do, and you're absolutely right. People don't do it.
Oh, I know.
It just takes practice, and it requires dedication and awareness and commitment, to do that.
Yeah. And, sometimes like maybe first thing in the morning doesn't work for you. So I'm going to say, just find a time that works for you. Maybe it's your lunch hour, maybe you always take lunch at noon. That's your time. And you can like close your office door and just breathe for 5 or 10 minutes. Maybe it's when you get home from work, or maybe it's in the car before you enter the house. Like oftentimes there's these sort of transition thresholds that we have, after being at work, coming into the house. And it's like, we need to kind of decompress before we enter the new environment or before we go into a new environment. So, maybe it's finding those times, but try to find a time that really just works for you and you can just do it. Because if you do it every day, it will change your nervous system.
Right. So anybody listening who's struggling with a lot of stress, try it. Just what do you have to lose? It's not going to hurt you,
Yeah. And I mean, even if you miss a day, like doing it, 3 times a week is better than not doing it at all.
Yeah. Well, and then maybe you crave it more because it's working. So you start doing it. And then you start doing it in your life as you're moving through life, which is key. So,
exactly.
Before we wrap up today, Harmony, I'd love for you just to share what you do now. I know you work with women entrepreneurs, and share anything you'd like about what you offer, where we can find you, all the things.
Yeah. I do all kinds of weird things these days. So
I love it.
Yeah. I do an embodiment it's like energy work, sort of a bit like Reiki. It's called spinal energetics. And it's really helps, like, you kind of enter a deep trance, deep meditative state, deep embodiment. And it's really allowing that innate energy in you. It's a bit like the Kundalini activation, but it's not Kundalini activation.
Not like we were talking about. Yeah.
Not like we were talking about, but it just like allows you to feel that inner energy moving through your spine and your body in a really interesting way. So if you come on over to my Instagram, you can find me at Harmony Slater Official, and you can watch those fun videos of me working with clients, or sometimes there's videos of me myself. It looks kind of yogic. It looks kind of also like, I don't know, witchcraft, maybe. I don't know. Looks pretty weird. And
now we're all going right now.
Yeah, I know, right? And I offer those sessions both online and in person. And I also teach yoga and pranayama and a breathwork course, the Ancient Breathing 2.0 online, as well as I have my Lightworker Mastermind, where I mentor coaches and healers and other yoga teachers to build sustainable businesses that are helping their nervous system instead of dysregulating their nervous system. So very, very important.
Well, it sounds like all of your training in the past has led you to do that. And that's so wonderful that you offer, because so many people are in need. And this idea too, that you don't have to do the rat race if you don't want to. You don't. You can create your own, your own, whatever you're good at, you can use it to help other people. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and it's so much about your own energy too, right? I mean, you know this. It's really like energy before strategy. Like, I think a lot of us come into being entrepreneurs or coaches or healers, and we're told all this business advice, or we're like, where do I find clients? Where do I get classes? Where do I, I want to do online. Like, there's so many options again nowadays, especially.
Oh, there are.
Right? Yeah. 24 hours, 7 days a week. There's like a million things you can do online for free, paid courses, all the things. But it's like, really, like, what is your soul's calling?
Mm-hmm.
And like, building an online course isn't for everyone.
No.
Running a membership isn't for everyone. In-person events aren't for everyone. So like, what's your soul calling you to? And really connecting into that is the best way to build a business. And I've like either done or am doing, for some reason, I don't know why. All of them.
You can do them all.
Yeah, I guess it's just it's my own dharma.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. But you said something lovely there, because not everybody does. The marketers come at you with, you got to do it all like this. And it's like, well, that's not everybody's gift.
It's really not. And it's also like, do you want to be insane?
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't get a badge of honor for being crazy. You just get burnout.
Yeah, and then you start hating what you used to love to do.
Yes. Yeah, and then you're like, now I need to go work at Starbucks and get a real job.
I know.
You don't have to do that. You could just build a business that is sustainable, good for your nervous system, and that you love.
Yeah, that works for you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Harmony. I've so enjoyed this conversation. I've always wanted to find somebody that could really go into Kundalini. So thank you. That was really interesting.
Thank you. I love it. I read your story, and I love hearing your personal experience with it as well. And
I never thought I would talk about something like that, but here we are.
Yeah, it's so great though. It's so great. I think it needs to be normalized a lot more, in the sense of not pedestaling it. When I was introduced to Kundalini, it was always like the gurus, the masters, you have to be someone special. You got to practice yoga for 25 years before you can ever have this kind of experience. I think there's something really beautiful about just recognizing that it's in us already, and it's not something we need to like get better to have.
I'm glad you said that because it's a great place to end. And it's so true. There's this glorification of enlightenment. And I think that's nothing more than the ego's claim of glory. And look at me and now bow down to me, when that's not really what it means. And so I love that you said that. So thank you for sharing that. It's really in all of us, everybody listening. And we all have the power to find that again.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All right. Well, thanks again, Harmony. And please come back
you.
anytime.
Oh, it was my pleasure. I'd love to.
That's it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. If it resonated, please share, follow, and drop a review with your takeaways. It really means a lot. Visit my website at liveLikeEden.com to subscribe for weekly reminders and blogs, or sign up for a free 30-minute consult to explore one-on-one guidance sessions if you're really struggling in Awakening's darkness. Take my Awakening quiz to get a personal podcast playlist that meets you exactly where you're at. See you next week for another deep dive.
This message is sponsored by Greenlight. With school out, summer is the perfect time to teach our kids real-world money skills they'll use forever. Greenlight is a debit card and the #1 family finance and safety app used by millions of families, helping kids learn how to save, invest, and spend wisely. Parents can send their kids money and track their spending and saving, while kids build money confidence and skills in fun ways. Start your risk-free Greenlight trial today at greenlight.com/Spotify. That's greenlight.com/Spotify.